Latino voters.
In spite of the president's promise to tackle the difficult issue of an immigration reform within the first year in office, even advocates recognize that it's a tough sell as a top priority.
I think that the country is not ready. First of all, we have to pay attention to the economics, and otherwise we are going to have enacted a law that will not answer the needs of our immigrants.
Precisely because of the economic crisis, it can be argued that all immigrants are needed right now, and the country cannot afford to lose them to the continuing raids or fear of deportation.
We cannot ask immigrants to leave or promote an exodus of immigrants as it is happening now. Immigrants that fear detention and deportation are leaving the United States of America. And we as a nation of immigrants have to understand that immigrants play a significant and important role for the continued social and economic development of our nation. That's number one.
Stopping the raids would be the first step, but Edward Juarez explained that there is something else President Barack Obama can do in the interim of getting a reform.
Section 245I is something that is very possible, very doable, very effective to be able to welcome millions of immigrants to legalization. An executive order would do, and that is something that President Obama, I think, that would seriously consider.
But will the issue really be addressed in any way? Many Americans don't see these immigrants as a part of the economic progress. In fact, they see it as a threat and a competition.
Let's understand that there are more U.S. citizens out of work, that are losing their homes, that are they have to close their businesses than undocumented immigrants. They're not going to be happy if we have an immigration reform that will legalize them and provide them with the opportunity to compete with their jobs.
Well, Clarissa, if we were doing this program in 2007, I think we might have looked ahead and said, oh yes, well the next president's going to have to deal with immigration. But right now, the other problems seem so big that nobody's really talking about it. What's the state of play in Washington?
Well, I mean, I think anybody who looks at '07 also realizes that in '07 the stars didn't align. And a lot of what was going on in 2007 we're still looking at right now, which is that policy decisions were completely put aside. And what dominated the debate was a lot of rhetoric about fear, about division, and about regarding immigrants as something completely alien and different than ourselves. And I think that in the context of an economic downturn, as we're seeing, there is a danger that that kind of rhetoric actually increases. And the problem is that, on the one hand, we can understand that in an economic environment like this, it gives us an opportunity to look at how future flows of workers this country can be managed. But we also have to understand that part of economic recovery means how can we bring folks out of the shadows so that everybody's paying taxes, contributing to the system, and then able for all of us to work together to set the country in the right path.
But what kind of prospects are there, given the political state of play right now, and also the real economic threat of this current time?
Well, there's a couple of things. I think that particularly after the 2008 election is the third electoral cycle that I think Congress is getting the message that the public is in a much more pragmatic place than they are on this issue. That the public really believes that we need the equalizer of everybody being a taxpayer, and they're tired of the rhetoric on this issue. The question is, has Congress truly internalized that, and are they ready to lead on this? But it is very clear that the public hunger is for this issue to be resolved. In terms of the economy, there is no doubt that the economy is the foremost, most important topic for everybody, including for Latinos. As a matter of fact, for Latinos, it has always been the economy. But what is not understood sometimes, and there's been a lot of debate on this where the Latino electorate is concerned, is whether that means that they care or don't care about immigration. And what is clear is that when immigration is part of the political debate, as it undoubtedly has been, it's an incredibly energizing factor. And we've seen that in terms of demonstrations in 06, naturalization in 07, voting in 08. And I think we're going to continue to see it in terms of advocacy and participation in the nation's policy debates.